Hey. Thank you. All right. Hey, my name is Ross. Nice to meet everyone. We have a clicker here. Cool. Okay, hey, just a quick intro. My name is Ross. I'm currently the CEO of Crimson Phoenix. We're about a 700-person defense contractor specializing in data-driven intelligence. So we do super high-tech work to drive national intelligence. All super high-level clearances, and again, about 700 folks. We use the agile recruiting process at my company, and it is something I'm excited to share with everyone. We've hired 123 people this year alone. For our size, that is a lot. Last year, we ended up with about 132 hires. Again, everyone in the kind of polygraph space, so hey, good to see you. Everyone kind of knows how challenging that is. So by show of hands, anyone here in the pure commercial staffing, not government space? So everyone is in the government space. That's great. Okay, so this will be super relevant for everybody, okay? I got my start after the Marines in recruiting. That was my first job. So I was a trained recruiter. I learned how to do that type of outreach, and then moved on into the defense contracting space and saw all the aspects of the industry and was promoted up. Eventually, I started my own firm, and we grew to about 240 people in just 4 years using agile recruiting, all polygraph, right? So hard engineers with polygraphs, super hard to fill. We grew faster than almost anyone that I've ever heard of. And it wasn't because we had government connects, it was ground and pound, find the people. And so I'm going to try to teach everybody some snippets on how to do that here today, all right? So agile recruiting is broken out into processes, systems, and tactics. And all three of those things combined bring the agile recruiting approach. So we're going to go ahead and get into the process side of this and some things that we recommend recruiting teams adopt for maximum effectiveness. So again, there's some firms that are super, super large where they don't actually have to do go-get-'em recruiting. They're so large, they're just getting applications all day long, and the recruiter's job is just to sift through all the applications. Anyone in that situation right now? Couple? So everybody else needs to go find their people, yeah? All right, anyone here need to do go-get-'em recruiting? You have a hot vacancy to fill, you have to go find this needle in a haystack? Lots of people, okay? That's the type of recruiting that we're talking about here. All right, that's what we need to become masters at. We need to become masters at, hey, this is Ross from Crimson Phoenix. Found your resume. Would you like to hear about a new position? Not looking. Turn that into your next hire. Okay, so that's going to get into the tactics section. But let's go ahead into process, and then we'll go from there. Try to leave plenty of time for Q&A and questions. Okay, so we're going to get into a little paradigm shift here. I talked to a lot of government contracting companies who are in services. They're not making a widget. They're not making a sensor or drone. They provide people. They're a services company, all right? And they talk about what they do. Oh, we create a data lake or a data engineering, and they're super passionate about their technology. But at the end of the day, they're providing people. Make sense? So these companies, many like yours in the room, you don't have a product, and you don't have a patented IP or patented way of building something that you're selling. So the value of your company is directly attributed to the people that you provide. It's a hard truth. Let it sink in. You're almost a staffing company wrapped in a government contracting wrapper with all the regulations, but at the end of the day, you're providing people. Yet, strangely enough, many government contracting companies have no clue how to effectively recruit. They build these, no offense, very HR-driven recruiting teams. The same people doing sales-based, high-octane outbound recruiting are the same people doing benefits enrollment. So we run recruiting as if it were a sales team with metrics. And that, from my experience, has been the most effective way to do it. It still technically falls under HR in our 700-person organization, but it's ran as its own department. And we clearly separate recruiting tasks with traditional HR-related tasks. So that is just a tip, and it works for some, but to each his own. But the point is, many companies in this space simply can't recruit. So success in government contracting services is simply the ability to go get on contracts and then find people. So let's become really good at finding people. Your whole company should align towards the recruiters. CEO, COO, CFO, and CPO or CHRO. Everyone needs to support the revenue drivers, which are the people putting billable people in positions. Does anyone like that concept? Yeah, I got some HR people in the room. I got some recruiters in the room. They've been dying for corporate support. All right, so let's talk about what the agile recruiting process looks like. So first and foremost is the recruiting scrum meeting. This is a daily meeting, at the minimum, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, where you do a stand-up, and typically the recruiting leader would lead that with recruiters. And ideally, your business development, security, and HR people are present. It's a 15-minute scrum. Similar to a software development scrum, it's a recruiting scrum. So you could run a daily, which is what we've always done. At our current company, we run a Monday, Wednesday, Friday detailed, and a Tuesday, Thursday touch base. I'll get into some examples of what a recruiting scrum should look like, but it's really important for accountability, mostly. If a recruiter does their job really well, they're finding candidates, but that's only half the battle. A lot of the times their candidates get stuck with the account manager or the PM or the recruiting, the HR director or security, and it stalls it out, and time kills deals. If you want to lose a candidate to a competitor, please take a 3-week hiring process. You need to close the gap on every single stage of recruiting, from candidate identification to outreach, to locking them down, to submitting them for an interview, to submitting them for a formal approval and crossover. And HR, every stage has to be minimized in terms of time, or else time will kill deals. So this recruiting scrum holds the team, not just the recruiters, accountable for doing their part to bring these candidates to the finish line. Next is a simple concept, but it just takes some management and discipline, frankly, to implement, is the concept of a recruiting sprint. If you are recruiting cleared people, what are they not allowed to have during the workday? Cell phones. So if your recruiter works hours between 9 a.m. and 4 p.m., what are the chances they're getting a cleared person on the phone? Very slim. So we recommend recruiting sprints and admin hours for your recruiting team. This again is just some of the process. All right, so we have done extreme things where we have second shift recruiters, and they work from noon to 8. And they get there at noon and they start making calls where they can reach people at lunchtime. They take the midday for admin hours. That's sending contingent offers, formatting resumes, following up with different stakeholders in the company. And then when 3:30, 4 o'clock comes, boom, call sprint, right? And you will get, by orders of magnitude, more people on the phone by implementing this simple tactic. And then task management, and this really falls into the systems piece, but no recruiter can remember to follow up with everybody and make all the calls. And if somebody's worth a call once, then they're worth another call and another call and another until you reach them. If they're worth calling once, you have to have a systematic, methodical approach to making sure that you never forget to follow up with them until you reach them or the job closes. So task management is super important. I'll get into some examples of this as well. And then again, intensely managed, all right? So we need a recruiting leader. We need a champion at your company to drive this process forward. I don't care if it's the CEO in small businesses or COO or CPO or whomever it needs to be, but someone needs to take charge of the recruiting team and drive this process. So you have to designate who that person is going to be. Okay, this person's also digging into KPIs. We like to track submits, interviews, acceptances, and starts. At the end of the day, the minimum metric you want your recruiter to be held to, I think, is submissions. How many good qualified candidates did they vet and then formally submit for approval? Sometimes after that process is out of their hands, right? They can't control whether the position materialized, or sometimes if the rate works out, or if the hiring manager sat on it for a week or two and the candidate dropped out. So submissions is kind of we love to see how many submits the recruiters get, and then, interviews that those submits equate to, and then acceptances that the interviews equate to. And if you start looking at all of these trends, you can understand your company's submit to hire ratios. You need to know how many submissions equals one hire at your company's, with your company's distinct contract set. It differs from contract to contract and from program to program, but you do need to understand how many submissions do I need to get one hire. In the full scope subcontracting space, it's typically like 9-to-1. 3 submits equals 1 interview request, 3 interviews equals 1 start. That's just a general KPI. So ask yourself, who in your company manages this? And do they manage it intensely? Cool. Here's some metrics and KPIs. These are derived from my industry, which assumes 90% or so polygraph. So recruiters that get 12 hires a year, 1 a month, that's employable. 18 hires a year is excellent. That's 3 hires every 2 months. And then 24 hires a year, harness that person, drain their blood, have everyone else drink it, and learn what they do. All right? That's a rock star in this space. 24 hires, have them teaching people. All right? So submits in the polygraph space, minimum 1 per week. So if they get, par is 2 per week. So if they get 2 submissions a week, they'll get 8 submissions a month, which should equate to 2 or 3 interviews, which should equate to 1 hire. So that's par. And these are, again, the ratios that we discussed. So again, these are specific to our business. Don't go take this to the bank. Like if you have some big uncleared or public trust contract with 1,200 people, your recruiter should be doing multiple times more than this. But this is for generally super hard to fill tech and engineering roles in the polygraph space. Okay. So let's kind of get into what a system should look like and how it should work. Anyone here operate an applicant tracking tool? Yes, everyone. Anyone does not have an ATS? Applicant tracking system? No? Anyone at all? Okay, I was going to sick Basil on you. No. Okay, so there is a few things to look out for. You have to have a reliable applicant tracking system. You need to harness the power of a phone call. So what does that mean? If you talk to a candidate and have a a recruiter has a 10 or 15-minute interview with that candidate. They find out where they live, what they want, what their salary demands are, what their current job is and why they don't like it or what they're looking for, but then you guys don't have a fit for that candidate. Well, what happens with that, the value of that conversation? If you don't have a great ATS where you can put those notes in and then harness the power of them in bulk later, then you're failing. You need to maximize the time that your recruiters are working. If they're going to have a conversation, even if you don't hire that person today, you should be able to pull back on those notes very, very easily and quickly to essentially harness the power of the conversation that you've had before. So you need a system where you can quickly throw a tag on a candidate. If you talk to someone, they're like, hey, I want to work in Germany. Well, that's kind of unique. Tag them Germany. I want to work OCONUS, anywhere overseas. Tag them OCONUS. The next time an OCONUS role drops, you have to be able to get in your system and say, show me all OCONUS tags. Every person you've already talked to, they're now warm leads, not cold leads, and they'll be flattered that the recruiter remembered to call them back and remembered that conversation. So your ATS has to do that. It has to do that, right? If you're serious about growing your company based on recruiting. What else? Compliance, of course, especially over 50 employees, over 100 employees, you're going to be held to EEO, OFCCP, AAP compliance. You need a system that's going to work for that. I have seen a lot of commercial staffing and recruiting tools that are like, wow, drip campaigns and AI, but they don't meet compliance for our industry. So you have to have a tool that has compliance. Real-time tracking and accountability for the scrum meetings. We'll show what this looks like. And then you have to go and look at analytics so you can pull metrics from your recruiting team. For our business, using the Agile ATS, if recruiters are not getting submissions, we're able to go see how much activity they're doing on a daily and weekly basis. Now, the recruiters in the room here that are low performance are going to hate that, and they're not going to tell their managers about this capability because it really would shine a flashlight on folks who are not working hard, frankly. I mean, if you're a recruiter and your full-time job is to produce candidates for our company's open jobs, and you're only doing outreach to 7 people a day, that's a problem, right? Anyone disagree? That's low, right? So you should have a system that could just shine light on that, and then you can kind of coach up in terms of how to, be more assertive. And really, you only really need to look at that if the hires aren't there, and you only need to look at submissions and interviews if the hires aren't there. So you can really just keep peeling back the onion. But that's important for your ATS. And and then lastly, company IP. ClearanceJobs is clearly the go-to database for cleared candidates in the labor force. Sometimes they take their resume off, right? So you still want anyone who's been on there, if you capture them, they should still be in your database. So that's another importance of generally having a good ATS. So this is an example of how you would run a scrum meeting. I am high on the Agile ATS system. It was built for this purpose. So it's called Agile ATS, AgileATS.com. You can go check it out. A little Galago logo there that's like a lemur. It's the most agile animal on earth. ClearanceJobs has partnered with Agile ATS, and so now ClearanceJobs owns Agile ATS, and they're about to do the coolest integrations that you guys have ever seen. This will be the only ATS in the market where candidates can go into ClearanceJobs and quick apply, and it just goes right into your system. You can go into ClearanceJobs here in about a month. This is being deployed. It's the only ATS in the market where you can go to ClearanceJobs and find a candidate and say, add, and it will automatically upload that person to your company's database and all their information. So it's truly a one-of-a-kind synergy. I'm really excited for the ClearanceJobs team and the investment that they're making into making the best ATS in the community. So this is an example of the Kanban board. This is where you run your daily scrum. All of your contracts are on the left side. All the jobs for those contracts are listed there. They could be red hot, they could be green for open, or yellow for covered, or closed as well. Typically, closed jobs won't show up. It's a setting. All right, so all the candidates for that program are listed right there at the different hiring stages. Initial screen complete, interview request, interview scheduled, interview complete, candidate approved, send offer, cross security clearance. At every single stage, you just drag and drop. So when a candidate is approved, now, instead of everyone sending emails to security and HR, and then they sit on the email for 48 hours, and then after 3 days, the clearance crossover begins. As soon as they're approved, boom, drag and drop, sends them an SF-86. It's done in a minute, not 3 days. And we're going to shave 2 or 3 days off every single stage in the hiring process, which leads to possibly weeks of candidate on contract faster. All automated. This is it's 2025. Like, this is table stakes. You know, you have to automate your workflows. Make sure stakeholders everyone's informed by the minute. So when you run a scrum meeting, your recruiting champion, who is intensely managing this process, should say, okay, let's go over it. For Cobalt, Cameron Wolf, looks like he was submitted May 8th. Who's the recruiter? RO. Ross, what's the status with Cameron? Right there on the spot, hold him accountable. It's not a call out, it's productive. Everyone's on the same page. We're trying to hire candidates fast, right? Yes. So he's going to go, hey, Cameron's ghosted me. Can you help out? Can you reach out? All right, great. Next, John Anderson, what's going on with him? Oh, interview's been scheduled? Okay, good to go. And here you can also see green snippets are your subcontractors' candidates, if you have them, and blue snippets are your team's candidates. So there's a whole subcontractors portal here where you can release requirements to them. So the point is, Agile ATS uniquely has a recruiting Kanban board that's totally automated and drag and drop, and this is the focal point for your recruiting scrum meetings. If you do this, I promise you're going to hire more people faster. It's the accountability and transparency. If we're waiting on, did I do that? Or did I just get cut off because I'm talking too much? If you're running a Scrum effectively, it'll hold everyone in your company accountable for the same result, leading to success. That's what we're looking for. Of course, you have to do complex Boolean search strings. This tool will show you the last time someone spoke with a candidate. You can do a search that says, show me everyone with Java, Python, a polygraph, and has not been contacted within the past 6 months. Date before 6 months ago. That's like, it's very, very high power search functionality. So again, I personally highly recommend companies take a look at this tool. I used it at my last business to scale in like a rocket ship. We're using it here now at an enterprise company with all the compliance and subcontractors. So it's truly one of a kind. And with the integrations with ClearanceJobs, it's remarkably one of a kind. So I'm very excited for the ClearanceJobs team. There's also some tactics. We are running out of time. I'm done here in about a minute. But there's a whole manual here on this framework for engaging with candidates. We're not going to have time to teach that today, but how to source candidates is important. You need to know where to look, how to attract and engage candidates, how to take a call that says, yeah, bud, not looking, sorry, and go and turn that into your next hire. There's an art to that. So hit me up on LinkedIn if anyone needs to connect, and I'd be happy to help. All right, but we don't have time to get into all the tactics today. But that's kind of it in this brief summary. We had 30 minutes, and I think I'm out of time. Who's leading this thing?
If you have time for one question, and if someone has a burning question, I'm sure you can ask. Okay.
Yes, sir. From Maxim, I think. Maximus.
Okay, so the question I have, I lead teams, lead a couple TA teams myself, and I lead them exactly the way that you described. So, preaching from the choir here. But I did want to ask, from your perspective, what do you think is the biggest ROI that you got from managing teams in this way? And how has it positively impacted your relationship with operations with C-suite in terms of visibility and partnership?
If you are a company who has low standards for your employees, this will be uncomfortable. If you're a company who has high standards for the team, you want to promote a culture where all the team is on the same page working towards a goal. This will shine light on sticking points. And it will kind of shine a light on people who repeatedly miss deadlines and don't deliver and poor perform. So I think, aside from the sheer time savings of recruiting in a shorter time, delivery of candidates, I think one of the primary benefits is to weed out people who probably don't belong on your team and foster a team of A players. And that's building a real culture, a team culture that is focused on results. So I think that is the benefit of holding everyone accountable to do their part, just like a 11-person football team. Blocker's got to block, QB's got to throw, wide receiver's got to catch, right? Same thing, responsible for your job. So respectful of the time. I'd love to answer more questions and chat with you, but I want to.
You are standing between them and the break. So if anyone has any questions, you can ask Ross directly. I'm sure he'd be happy to
Thank you.
answer.
Thank you so much, everyone. My pleasure.